Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to all the students of grade 6. In this lesson, we will be learning unit number 1, cells, and the topic is plant cells. Learner book, page number 8 to 12, and workbook, page number 1 to 4. So, the learning objectives. The learning objectives are to understand that all organisms are made up of cells, to identify and describe the functions of plant cells, to make a model of a plant cell, and to use microscope to look at plant cells. Success criteria. So when this lesson finishes, each student will be able to name all the structures in plant cell and describe their functions. Also, the students will be able to make a model of a plant cell and discuss its strength and limitations. Finally, the students will be able to use a microscope to look at plant cells. The keywords. The first thing that you will be learning here is the cell. Now, cell is a small structure which make the living organism. Every living organism, whether animal or plant, they contain the cell. The second one is the cell membrane. Now, cell membrane is the outer boundary of the cell, and it is flexible in nature, and it protects the cell from the external environment, and it controls everything which enters the cell and everything which go out from the cell. The next one is the cell wall. The cell wall is strong, stiff, and it is the outer covering of the plant cell. Now, it protects the cell from the external environment. Cellulose. Cellulose is the material that make up cell walls in plants. All the cell walls are made of a material which is called cellulose. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green substance inside the plant, and it is used during the photosynthesis. The sun is used during the photosynthesis, and chlorophyll help the plant to use the sunlight during the photosynthesis, as well as it also gives green color to the plant leaves. Cytoplasm. It is a jelly-like substance which is present inside the cell, and all the chemical reactions take place inside the cytoplasm. We can say that all the components of a cell float in cytoplasm. Magnify. You will be using a word magnify. Magnify means to make something look better or bigger. Limitations mean weaknesses. And safe vacuole, it is a space inside the cell, the plant cell, which contain liquids. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is a small structure inside a cell where energy is released from food. Now, the mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse of the cell. Now, when mitochondria generates power, the cell uses that power to perform different activities. Nucleus. Nucleus is the center of the cell, means it is the main part of the cell. All the actions, all the activities of the cell are controlled by the nucleus. Okay, we are going to start our lesson. Just read this sentence. Plant and animals are living organisms. They are made up of units called cells. With your partner, think about answers of these questions. How big do you think a cell is? Is it 1 meter? Is it 2 meters? It is 1 micrometer. Is it 1 nanometer? Is it as much big as we can see it by our eyes, or is it as much small as we cannot see it by our eyes? So discuss this during the lesson. And if it is very, very small, how can we see the cells? This is also a question. Discuss with your partners. Can you describe what a cell looks like? The structure, the apparent structure of the cell. How does it look like? Is it rectangular? It is circular? Is it irregular? What type of structure or what sort of appearance a cell has? And then share your ideas with your classmates. Now coming to cells. What are cells? In short, all the living organisms are made up of cells. Now cells are very small in structure. You cannot see the cell by your naked eyes. You have to use a device which is called microscope to see the cell. If you see a plant cell in microscope, you will see these kind of structures, box-like structures. These box-like structures are called cells. They are rectangular in shape. All the plants are made up of from these kind of boxes, and each box is called a cell. So now the question here is, can you see the cell by your naked eyes? The answer is no. So how can you see it? We can see a cell through the use of a device which is called microscope. Now what microscope do? When you put a part of a plant in microscope, it magnifies that, means it makes that part bigger and bigger and bigger. So at the final stage you will be able to see box-like structure in microscope, and these box-like structures are known as plant cell. So when you study the plant cell, the first thing you come to know is that a plant cell is rectangular in shape, and the parts of the plant cell are the outer covering. Now the outer covering is called the cell wall, and the cell wall protects the plant. Cell wall is a rigid body, a hard or a solid component, and cell wall is made up of a material which is known as cellulose. So cell wall is the outer part of the plant. Second thing is the mitochondria. Now mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, means the cell generates the power in mitochondria and uses this power to perform different activities. The third one is the sap vacuole. Now the sap vacuole is a place in the plant cell where water is present. Now this water may be waste products, or these water may be the water which is spared from the chemical reactions that take place inside the cell. The next thing is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a jelly-like structure. All the chemical reactions take place inside the cytoplasm. All the parts of the cell. For example, without cell wall and cell membrane, the remaining parts, mitochondrion, chloroplast, nucleus, all these parts float in the cytoplasm. It is like a river where all the other plant parts are floating. The next one is the cell membrane. This is also a very thin layer, but it is flexible, and it comes after the cell wall. Now the cell membrane allows some substances to come inside the cell and allows some substances to go out of the cell. It also stops those substances, those materials which are dangerous for the cell. It stops them entering from the cell. The next one is the chloroplast. Now chloroplast is a green substance. Mainly it is used in photosynthesis, and its other function is that it gives green color to the plant. The main function that it is used during the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process in which the plant uses the sunlight to produce food for itself. Now chloroplasts help the plant to get the sunlight during the photosynthesis. Nucleus. Now nucleus is the central part of the plant. Means it is the most important part of the plant. Every function of the plant is controlled by the nucleus. Plant cell. Every function of the plant cell is controlled by the nucleus. All the activities which take place inside a plant cell, they are controlled by the nucleus. Now these are some of the properties of the plant cell components. The first one is the cell wall. Cell wall is strong. It protects the plant cell from external environment, and it gives the plant cell a well-defined shape. Cell wall is made up of a component which is called cellulose. The second, after the cell wall, the second thing which comes is a flexible membrane which is called cell membrane. Now cell membrane allows the passage of material inside and outside of the cell. Those materials which are required by the cell membrane allows them. Those materials which are not required by the cell membrane stops them. Those materials which are not required inside the cell membrane allow them to go out of the cell. The next one is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a jelly-like structure, and all the chemical reactions which take place inside the cell are done by the cytoplasm. Now due to these chemical reactions, the cell is alive. If these reactions doesn't take place, then the cell will not be alive. Nucleus. It is the central part of the cell, and it controls all the activities of the cell. Okay, this is a large fluid-filled space inside a plant cell. As I told you before, the fluid may be water, may be waste material, may be those materials which are not needed by the plant. They are put in the vacuoles. Okay, they are solutions of sugars, and there are other substances dissolved in water. This solution is called a sap, 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 where different types of sugars, different type of other substances are mixed in water, and they make a solution, and that solution is called a sap. Chloroplast. Chloroplast main function is that it is used during the photosynthesis. Okay, and in photosynthesis, what does the plant do? The plant makes the food for itself. There is a small segment in chloroplast, the name is, which is called chlorophyll. Now this chlorophyll gives green color to the plant, and this chlorophyll is present inside the chloroplast. Mitochondria. It is the powerhouse of the cell. It generates the power, and the cell uses that power to perform different tasks. What do you see in the picture? In the picture you see a device, and this device is called a microscope. Microscope is used to see very, very small things larger. Now a microscope has a lens which magnifies the pictures. Magnifies means which makes the pictures bigger. Now in the microscope you have an eyepiece where you position your eye. It has knobs which move this part of the microscope up and down, and you have fine focusing knob. Now this focusing knob is used to move what? To move the focus of the material which you will place on any of the slide. Okay, the first one, the longer one, is the high power objective lens. The medium one is the medium power objective lens, and the third one, the smaller one, is the lower power objective lens. Now it depends on the type of sample. If your sample is very small, you will use high power resolution.